For decades, Steve Harvey has been working as a stand-up comic, actor, TV host, and an author. Aside from the over 10 million people following him on Instagram, there's another group of people who just can't stand him.
So for me, I'm always like, F that dude. He ain't even that funny.
Before we get into today's video, name the #1 website to purchase snacks that you can munch on while watching our videos.
rrgsnacks.com.
That's correct. Our online concession stand at rrgsnacks.com has an assortment of the best goodies, from beef and bacon jerky to watermelon licorice and butter toffee peanuts. Now, let's jump into the real reason people can't stand Steve Harvey. During a 2016 episode of his talk show, Steve cracked jokes about an obscure advice book called How to Date a White Woman, a Practical Guide for Asian Men. After laughing hysterically, Steve joked that it's probably a really short book.
That's one page too. Excuse me, do you like Asian men? No. Thank you.
Author Eddie Wang responded to Steve's insensitive comments in an essay published by the New York Times. Eddie called the jokes upsetting and said the one stereotype that hurts the most is, quote, that women don't want Asian men. He spoke about his personal experience, stating that no matter how successful he became, there were always times when he thoroughly believed that no one wanted him. Eddie blamed the feeling on the, quote, structural emasculation of Asian men in all forms of media. Steve issued a public apology in a tweet, but the damage had already been done. Someone told Steve it would be a good idea to write a relationship advice book. So in 2009, he released Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, which was later turned into a film. Despite spending 64 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list, many wondered what qualified a man that has been married 3 times to give advice on how to sustain a loving and committed relationship. In the book, Steve also embraces the notion that men are players, and game playing is the key to having a successful relationship. He also suggests that romantic relationships will only work when women conform to traditional gender roles. One person who was fed up with Steve being Black people's new relationship guru was fellow comedian Tony Rock. Tony said, his third wife was a mistress to his second wife, yet Black people have anointed this the oracle when it comes to Black dating. Back in 2018, his wife Marjorie posted a video of her and Steve slicing up fruits and veggies while making juice in their kitchen. In the clip, Marjorie uses an outdated and insensitive word aimed at people with intellectual disabilities.
Because clearly he thinks I'm retarded. I don't know how to cut a beet.
The video sparked outrage among social media users, who flooded the post with thousands of comments. Parents of special needs children simply asked Marjorie to educate herself on why the word is offensive. Instead of apologizing and learning from the mistake, Steve came to his wife's defense by going ham in the comments. Steve proceeded to use the word several times in his response and stated Marjorie was only using the word toward herself and it wasn't directed at anyone else. He also accused people online of just looking for something to be mad about. Marjorie replied to his comment with laughing emojis and added, I tried to stop him, but y'all know he crazy and don't play about me. In 2000, Steve and Bernie Mac made up one half of the original Kings of Comedy. Despite the highly successful stand-up tour and film, which included comedians D.L. Hughley and Cedric the Entertainer, Steve and Bernie had some major animosity. The tour made history and helped all 4 comedians' careers rise to even greater heights. But the rumors that Bernie and Steve not being on friendly terms persisted after Bernie suggested to GQ magazine in 2003 that Steve was envious of his success and tried to steal gigs from him. Years later, during an appearance on Conversations with Ed Gordon, Steve said he was angry after reading the GQ article because Bernie's allegations were false. Steve also acknowledged that he confronted Bernie about his statements, and Bernie reportedly said he never made those statements. So Steve decided to take his word for it. Cedric the Entertainer confirmed that Steve and Bernie's beef was the real reason they never made a second Kings of Comedy.
They were the kind of guys that they both alpha males, like
they both, they just saw it different, what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, they was able to get through it.
Bernie passed away in 2008. Steve said Bernie's widow, Rhonda McCullough, helped him get beyond the feud. Steve said, "Rhonda, of all people, knows the truth. It was a cleansing moment for me because I was able to let go of a lot of stuff." Steve never holds back, and he isn't afraid to speak his mind, but some people think he has taken things a little too far when it comes to his distaste for rap music.
Oh, you like rap now? That's cause your ass is ignorant. Stank ass rappers make me sick. Don't care nothing about no rappers. Don't like none of them. They crazy. If you ain't out here talking about nothing positive, you ain't talking about uplifting and the edification of our race, I don't think you ought to be out here.
Everyone has a right to their own opinion, but who asked for his? During a 2021 interview with Tony Vision YouTube channel, Be Real of the rap group Cypress Hill recalled that during his time working alongside Steve at Los Angeles radio station 92.3, Steve was constantly talking trash about hip-hop music despite the station's tagline being, "Where hip-hop lives." Be Real couldn't believe the bosses would bring in someone that had no love for the type of music that made the radio station so popular.
I mean, here he is talking about something that saved our lives.
Yeah, exactly, okay? So he's shit on something that saved a lot of black and brown lives.
Yes.
And that should be something that he celebrates.
Be Real stated that the station lost listeners to rival radio station Power 106 because the host over there embraced hip-hop and the culture more than Steve did. Back in March 2016, Steve devoted a 1-hour segment of his talk show to the Flint, Michigan water crisis. A year later, he made a comment that would anger the entire nation. During a June 2017 episode of his Steve Harvey radio show, Steve took a call from a man from Flint. The caller told Steve that the city of Cleveland didn't deserve jack following the Cavaliers' NBA Finals loss to the Golden State Warriors. Steve, who lived in Cleveland at one point growing up and is a Cavaliers fan, took offense to the comment and said this in response.
Hey, one more thing, though.
Go ahead.
Enjoy your nice brown glass of water.
Oh, God!
Although his co-host apologized on his behalf, Flint's then mayor, Karen Weaver, asked for Steve to publicly apologize for making light of a serious crisis. But instead, Steve doubled down on his remarks and said he and the caller were just doing some typical sports trash talking. He ended his statement by saying, "Any attempts to craft this into anything more serves no one." In 2017, a letter Steve sent to the Chicago staff of his daytime talk show was leaked. In the memo, he instructs his staff to stay away from his dressing room unless they're invited, don't approach him while he's in the makeup chair unless he speaks to them directly, and he asks them not to take offense to his new way of doing business. And of course, the backlash from the public ensued. Steve told Entertainment Tonight the memo was necessary because he was constantly being bothered when he was walking from his dressing room to the stage or when he was sitting down to have lunch. He said his staff started bringing their friends on set so he could take pictures and sign autographs, so he decided it was time to put his foot down. No matter how he tried to spin it, many people saw his memo as being insensitive, and some even suggested that he looked down upon the people that worked hard to make him money. Just days before Martin Luther King Jr. Day in 2017, Steve was invited to meet with then-President-elect Donald Trump at Trump Tower to discuss urban development. Despite his wife Marjorie telling him not to go, Steve agreed to meet with Trump. Steve later called it a transition meeting between Obama's team and Trump's team. Trump connected him with Ben Carson, the head of Housing and Urban Development.
We're going to team up and see if we can bring about some positive change in the inner cities, which I felt was my only agenda, and he agreed, and he wants to do something. And he realizes that he needs some allies in that department, and he seemed really sincere about it.
He left the building feeling proud and called Trump a great man.
I want to encourage you to stay here in this country. Donald Trump is not going to be that bad.
due to Trump's perceived insults against the black community, including allegations of racism, xenophobia, and Trump's crass decision to thank African Americans who chose not to vote in the election, Steve was called a sellout and an Uncle Tom. While TV personality Stephen A. Smith praised Steve for trying to bridge the gap and bring about change, T.I. posted numerous Instagram videos to drag Steve. In one video, T.I. issued a warning.
Man, look, I'm gonna tell all you celebrities, black, minority, all of you, man, athletes, man, all of you, look, let me tell you something. There's a strategic plan that people are trying to make you a part of, okay? So do not accept any invitation to have any meeting, no matter how positive you think the outcome may be, without understanding, man, people have a very Willie Lynch agenda, okay? And you being there, being seen with them, taking pictures and smiling and being positive, it may seem positive to you, but there's a hidden agenda, man. And you might not know it, but now you have been warned.
2 months later, Snoop Dogg and the band Bad Bad Not Good released a music video depicting Trump in a clown face and imagery of Snoop pointing a weapon at the commander-in-chief's head. Trump responded by calling Snoop a failing artist. While Bow Wow and T.I. came to Snoop's defense, Steve told Snoop, Bow Wow, and T.I. they needed to chill out and be smart. Steve added, "There is an office in this country called the president, and you have to respect the office. You really do, whether you want to or not." People decided to show Steve how they really felt about him by boycotting his projects. His Steve Talk Show debuted in September 2017 to abysmal ratings that many attributed to Steve's public support of Trump. The show was canceled in 2019, and he was replaced by Kelly Clarkson.
Who took his show from him?
Kelly Clarkson.
How can Kelly Clarkson take your show, homie?
Hey, bro.
Damn.
Looking back on the meeting and how he lost support from the black community, Steve said on an episode of his radio show, "Meeting with Donald Trump was the worst mistake of my life." Did he get something out of the meeting at least? Not quite. He told The Hollywood Reporter he met with Ben Carson about 2 times, but he admitted he hadn't talked to Trump since their meeting. In December 2015, Steve hosted the Miss Universe pageant for the first time and made the biggest blunder ever by mistakenly announcing Miss Colombia as Miss Universe when, in fact, Miss Philippines was the real winner.
She was still in the middle of her victory lap when she gets a tap on the shoulder saying, that crown, we're going to need that back.
This is exactly what's on the card. I will take responsibility for this. It was my mistake.
During an interview with a Colombian radio station, Miss Colombia called it a humiliating moment for herself and for all the people of Latin America. Dang, that's a whole lot of people.
You know, he's botched a couple of important moments. We celebrated that. Oh, like when he came in with the wrong Miss America and
that dumb
and a bunch of other shit. Fuck that dude.
Steve invited her to appear on the Steve Harvey Show in January 2016, where they exchanged an awkward hug and he apologized. During their chat, Miss Colombia gave him a little bit of advice. "You have to learn how to read cards because it was on the card." Steve returned as host of the 2017 pageant, and that year's Miss Colombia was announced as one of the top 13 finalists. After telling the woman he wanted her to marry his son, Steve asked,
How do people in Colombia feel about Steve Harvey? Anybody talking to y'all?
A lot of people hate you.
In 2019, Monique appeared on Steve's show to discuss allegations that she was blackballed from Hollywood. During their conversation, Steve told Monique she had gone about things the wrong way and she wasn't going to be able to cure darkness with more darkness. Monique accused Steve of privately supporting her but publicly throwing her under the bus. In other words, Steve was being two-faced. Allegedly. Steve later apologized for losing his composure during the conversation, while Monique claimed that the clip of the interview that aired on TV was heavily edited in Steve's favor. In a 2019 appearance on the Mike and Donnie Show, comedian Mark Curry accused Steve of stealing one of his jokes. The joke in question is from a personal experience Mark had during his childhood when he dressed up for Halloween. When the Hollywood Fix caught up with Steve and asked him what he thought about Mark's allegations, Steve denied he stole Mark's joke, and he added, "Mark Curry need to grow up. get a life, get a career, do something, man. Mark then hopped on his Instagram and provided receipts. We've played his audio in our previous Mark video, but we'll play it again for those of you who missed it.
Halloween was a trip. Halloween, we couldn't afford no Halloween costumes. Hey, kids, please. Mama sent us down to the liquor store, put boxes on us. We didn't know what we were. I don't know what we are. I think we UPS, I guess. I don't know.
And here's Steve's joke.
Every Halloween, I had the same outfit on. I just had a brown box. I wasn't nothing sad. I asked my father, could I have a new outfit? And he said, no, just wear the same one. It was just a brown box. And he just told me to tell everybody I was a UPS man.
Although Steve has done some questionable things in the past, and we're sure he's not done yet, the real question is, what will he do or say next that will rub people the wrong way? If you enjoyed this video, let us know down below. And thanks for watching RRG.